Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing well and hope everything is going your way. Before I start anything. I know she's watching. She hides back in the background a little bit and doesn't say much very often, but I want to wish my lovely wife, Linda, a very happy birthday today. Um, this is her day. We're going to do what she wants, except right now. So, happy birthday, baby. And let's try to make it a good one. Okay, today is finally the day. As you can see behind me, the spoil board is on, it's down, it's finished. And oh boy, the questions have come in. And it's kind of odd because I got some, I got the questions I knew I was going to get, but it's kind of odd that I got those questions from people who have been following me for a while. And I'll get into that a little bit more later on. But let's start with your questions slash comments, what have you. And let's make the first one from Larry Brown. When I saw you nail the strips down, I fell off my chair. Please explain. I have visions of sparks flying. Very easy. And I mentioned it in the video. I'm using my Omer composite nailer with these Raptor 1.25 inch long composite nails. They are a plastic composite, 15 gauge. They're a bit pricey, but boy, are they worth it. I wanted to try this out since I've seen, Frank Howarth is using them and a few other people are using them. And I wanted to check them out for myself and see, are they all they're cracked up to be? And brother, I'm here to tell you, they really are. Like I said, these were 1.25 inch nails, and I only had two that didn't seat correctly and stuck up about, one of them was about a 16th of an inch and one was about an eighth of an inch. And I just snapped off those heads and shot another nail in right next to it. Uh, and they are made specifically for this. It's a plastic composite, so there is no metal. They are pricey. Um, Les Clement says, yeah, they are very pricey. But here's my take on it. Just before we went live here, I I ran the numbers, and this box of 1.25 inch nails is $42.46. But you get about 2,350 nails in this box, approximately, which makes them, broke it all down and everything, that's 1.8 cents per nail. Okay. I shot, including the two that didn't seat and I broke off and reshot, I shot a total of 67 nails in that spoil board for a total of $1.20. So I spent $1.20 on nails and then surfaced it with a $180 bit. Now, this is just me talking here, but spending $1.20 to save a $180 bit to me is worth it. Now, I know I can flip those, I can rotate those cutters 4 times. And even if I destroyed one of those cutters, I've got an extra right here. These are $25 a piece. So, yes, I'll invest $1.20 to save $75 on on this bit and the carbide cutters. Um, I'm sold. I really am. Yes, the nail gun is expensive. The nail gun's about $300. You can find it on Amazon. Not this exact model, but you can find the Omer composite nailer on Amazon for just a little less than $300. And the nails are expensive as well, as compared to other nails. But I think they're well worth it. And I'm sold. I've become a fan. So to me, it's worth it. So let's see here. Um, Another one here from Bill Stoffer. Nice spoilboard. Thank you. I regret spacing my T-track at 5 inches, but I've learned to make it work. Yeah. And that is why I spaced these unevenly. Well, two reasons why. And I'll get into this. There are two questions I have here lined up about the way I mounted the T-track. The main reason for the T-track is to hold fixtures and jigs and alignment tools. I don't clamp my work. I eh, since I started this, I think I have clamped project materials down twice. I may be wrong there. It may have been 3 times. I'm just, I don't trust clamps. I just don't trust them at all. Those of you who've been following me, you know that I use tape and CA glue. And if the piece is too big, I just screw it down. Well, I'm going to be using a lot of fixtures, and the fixtures will slot into this unevenly spaced track, you know. So when I set my spacing for the mounting bolts on the fixture, it'll go into one of the large slots and then one of the smaller slots, and it will only index in that spot so that I can set Mach 4, right? Get the right hand there, Mark. I can set Mach 4. I can set like a G56 for this one particular fixture. And when I use that fixture, I mount it in that one place, and that's the only place it'll go. It won't fit any of the other spacings. So I mount that fixture, I put my material in the fixture, I set the G54 in Mach 4, and it'll go to that X and Y zero automatically. You don't have to play with it. And we're going to get into that uh, as we travel down this road in this adventure. I'm going to get a lot more technical and getting into Mach 4. I keep pointing at the monitor like it's up and loaded. It's not. I'm going to be getting a lot more technical in the setups and fixturing and work holding and things like that. I just personally don't trust clamps. Now, on the fixtures, I will be using a combination of alignment angles on one edge, or two edges actually, one in X and one in Y, and then vertical toggle clamps to hold it down. But I'll also probably use some tape and CA glue to keep the pressure spread evenly. I don't know. I just don't trust clamps. I've had them fail. You think you have it nice and tight, and that one time it slips is going to be the time when you really, really need it to not slip. And that's been my experience with double-sided tape as well. I do use double-sided tape, just not on the CNC router because I've had it. What turned me against it finally forever was I was routing a headstock on a guitar neck and using a MDF template on a router table. And it was just hot enough outside that the adhesive on the double-sided tape weakened just enough to where I got about 2/3 of the way around that headstock, and the template just slipped just a little bit. And I had quite a bit of work in this neck, and it just ruined it. So that was it. From then on, I decided that double-sided tape is a tool of the devil. And that's why I like the tape and CA glue method best over double-sided tape is because I can burnish that tape onto, in this case, the headstock and onto the template and then stick it together. Double-sided tape, I can burnish it onto either the headstock or the template, one or the other. And then after that, I'm relying on how hard I can press down to make the other side stick. I can't burnish both sides. So that's my main issue with double-sided tape, is it's been inconsistent. So, but that's a completely different subject. So let's see here. We get to some of the other questions here. Brooks Martin wants to know, did you consider tapping the rails? No. So you have to be concerned about over torquing the hold downs. No. I'm not concerned with that. And that's because, as I said, I don't clamp my work down. That will be just basically used for locating. And yes, I'll be clamping it down, but not so tight. You know, if I'm tightening a fixture down so tight that it pulls that TTrack up, I really, really need to work on the calibration of my eyeballs. You know, it's that's not something that I anticipate doing. If it should happen, then I can always drill it out and put in a countersunk machine screw and nut from the bottom. Yeah, it'll be a pain, but you know, I'm married to a former aircraft mechanic and she knows how to operate a ratchet real well. So she can handle that part while I'm either holding or I crawl underneath and run the ratchet. So on that note, Les Clemens wants to know, did you countersink the screws that hold the TTrack down? Are you going to clear the heads of the screws? I didn't need to. Well, I had to drill one hole because over, I think it was the third one in right there, the mounting for it, the mounting hole for the TTrack, and this is what I'm talking about here, these holes right here. They are countersunk from the factory. And this first hole right up here lined up perfectly with one of the recesses for the mounting bolts for the MDO board table. So I came out here, measured about 3/8 of an inch in, drilled another hole, countersunk that, then took a deburring tool and cleaned up the bottom so it would sit flat, and then screwed it down. It was just one of those things. It just happened to line up. Rick French says, source for your TTrack, affiliate link in the description box of this video and the Spoilboard video. So, yeah, it's these are the 4-foot long, and yeah, it's red. It's nice and pretty. I didn't intend to get red. I looked at it and I was just going to go with the plain silver anodized. And they had blue, they had black, they had silver, they had red, and I think there was one other color. Maybe I'm wrong. And it was all the same price. So I said, well, hey, Avid's colors are red and silver. Let me get some red. So, but here's the funny part. Came with blue screws. I have no idea why. I don't know. Maybe they just had a bunch, didn't have any red screws, but there you go. Greg, der Snow Crusher, says carbide cutters should cut wire nails with ease. I agree. I machine steel with carbide and high-speed steel tools all the time. Yeah, I've had the misfortune of hitting a nail or the tip of a screw on a table saw, carbide tooth table saw blade. And other than possibly nicking the blade, depending upon the gauge of the nail or screw, it'll cut through it. I mean, that's not a problem, but it's more about damaging the cutter than anything else, you know. But dress it up a little bit with some fine sandpaper and, or emery cloth rather, and then drive on, but not on that expensive bit. So, let's see here. Let's get to another one. Okay, Kurt Briegel says, are you using the composite nails now instead of screw down for material for the most part? No, I will still continue to screw things down for the most part. I am just Scottish enough to where I don't want to spend that 1.8 cents per nail unless I need to. If I'm going to be surfacing something, for instance, the number one comment I got, well, okay, take that back. The number two comment I got on the video this morning was, great, Spoilboard, now you can do the pirate. Yes, I'm going to do the pirate. That piece of material, I'm going to have to surface it. So I'm going to use the composite nails to hold that down when I surface it because I don't want to hit a screw. But if I wasn't going to surface that piece of material, I would screw it down. So, I mean, a box of screws is cheap and multiple uses out of a box of screws. And plus I use them for other things. So what the heck? So, I like a one size fits all situation or solution, but I find that a lot of times there just isn't a one size fits all solution. So I like to keep options open. So I've got the tape and CA glue. I've got vertical toggle clamps. I've got screws. I've got composite nails now. And so the situation is going to dictate which I use. And I may use more than one. I may put 3 screws in and a composite nail up front. I mean, it's just going to depend on the situation, the project, and the tooling I'm using. So, I mean, I'm all about options. So let's see here. Brooks Martin, do those composite nails work in a Bosch Pin Nailer? You would have to get a hold of Raptor and ask them about that. I have heard well, first of all, they're 15 gauge. So if you've got a 15 gauge brad nailer, you can pursue from there. That is an odd gauge, an odd size. But from what I gather, a standard pin nailer just hits it too hard and can cause the nail to shatter when it impacts the material. So I would hesitate to say yes, no, or maybe. But I've heard some people say yes, they do use them. They just turn down the pressure to the nail gun. I've heard other people say they tried it and it didn't work worth beans. Personally, I think for a home hobbyist, this kind of setup may be expensive and may not be justifiable. But if you're running a business, I mean, it is fast. And I mean, because it's 4 trigger pulls and that's it, it's done. But I'm not trying to put out 1,000 parts a day. I just want it as an option for if, like I said, if I'm going to be surfacing something, then I have this available to me. And a lot of that is economy on my part as well. In that, for instance, something like black walnut here. I'm on the West Coast, and this is softwood country. We don't get a lot of hardwoods out here. Well, there are some, but nothing like what you have on the East Coast, or east of the Mississippi, I should say. So just about all of the maple, cherry, walnut we get out here has to be shipped here. And walnut's expensive no matter where you go. Out here, it's doubly so because we have the transportation costs. So rough sawn walnut, 4/4 rough sawn walnut runs about $12 a board foot, and about 14 now for S2S, surface two sides. And so I have been in the past, I have planed and straight edged my own material just simply because, it's expensive to buy the S2S. And it's more than just walnut. I mean, it's all kinds of different woods. So I have to go for economy. And, spending 8 cents to hold a piece of material down to save $2 a board foot, I think is, economical for me. It's going to take a while to make that investment back, but, you know, I'm all for it. And again, this is an experiment. It worked great to mount this MDF to MDO board. We're going to find out how well it works on something dense like walnut and maple to hold it down to the MDF spoilboard. We'll see how well that works. Now, I've watched, like I said, Frank Howarth up near Portland, about 5 hours north of me. He uses it a lot on plywood, but I can't recall if he's ever done it with maple. I think he has, but I'm not sure. So it's an experiment. We'll find out. It may only work well with plywood. I don't know. But so far, so good. Let's see here. Jeff at Woodywan says, I use brass screws if I think I have any chance of the bit hitting them. More money and cheaper than bits. Yeah, well, that's true. I invested in, when I first got started, I invested in nylon bolts with nylon washers and wing nuts and the whole thing, figuring the same thing. If it's going to hit something, I'd rather it hit something plastic that cutter's going to go through real easy and not damage the cutter. But I quickly realized that I spent money on the nylon fasteners really for nothing because like I say, I don't use clamps to hold material down because I just don't trust them. So I've got them, and you know, it's they're just sitting there collecting dust. So let's see here. Extreme Woodworker says, I have had some issues with very hardwoods using the composite nailer. Raptor sent me some diamond point nails to try to eliminate that problem. I'm gonna have to keep my eye on it and take copious notes as I do, and see what issues I have with what woods and attaching them to what. Um, Diamond point nails, I'm going to have to look into that and check it out. Let's see. Let's see, diamond point. I'll write that down. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Lewis Denton says, related subject, I like nylon dowels. That's something I didn't grab to bring over here. Bear with me for just a second. That's also something that I've got to do to this spoil board yet. And this is a work in progress, remember. And that is these 1/4-inch precision ground locating dowels. I'm going to be drilling a series of holes here along my X on this corner and then along the Y, along this edge. And that will be for locating. And I'll set a macro in G56 or G58 or something like that in Mach 4 to locate on the corner there. And we'll get more further into that down the road. But yes, 1/4 inch precision ground dowels, and they'll be used for locating. And once the piece is fastened down to the table, the dowel will come out, so I can't hit it. I mean, that's going to be one option. Like I say, I'm all about options and choices. And I may end up using these locating dowels with like spacers to keep the bit away from the dowel, but still be able to have something there to hold it as a as kind of a backstop should something shift or move or wiggle. Yes, Avid only sells the Chisel Point. Yes, I do know that. I do know that. And so again, that's something I'm going to check into. So thank you very much for that. Let's see here. Peter Van Vliet says, don't forget about vacuum pods. They work really well. I'm just starting to investigate that. But I'll be honest with you, with all of the money that's gone into this shop from its inception, about a year and a half ago, I need to start using this and stop buying stuff for it. So, it's I have to be practical. I mean, what can I say? But yeah. Okay, Todd says, yeah, that's what he did, but he uses wood dowels. Yes. And Brooks Martin says he uses oak dowels. Okay. Yeah. I have been using standard hardwood dowels from the from the home center, mainly for like double-sided projects. And I'll probably continue to do that because I know my luck. If I try to use something like a metal dowel or something like that, I'm going to run into it. So I don't believe in slapping fate in the face. Excuse me. Let's see. Bob Helter Bridle says I cut plexiglass L brackets to use for locating corners, and that's something I'm going to investigate as well. I don't know if I'm going to be using plexiglass or if I'm going to be using something else. I really don't know just yet. But I'm like I say, I'm all about options, and you know, if I can index something down in these 1/4 inch dowel holes and fasten it to the spoil board, like an L bracket, like you're talking about, Bob, then, when I've got true registration and can fasten things down, I mean, that's going to be my main focus, is to increase my accuracy and increase the consistency. Now, let me clarify, that is not to say that the Gatton CNC was inaccurate or inconsistent. It wasn't. The Gatton CNC, I think, is still a fantastic machine. I never had any accuracy or consistency problems with it. None. All I'm saying is with this new Mach 4 software, and there I go pointing at the monitor again, it has a lot more options than I knew how to use in Mach 3. And I'm going to take advantage of some of those options and increase my accuracy and consistency. There's nothing to do with the machine. It's everything to do with me. So I still truly believe the Gatton CNC is the best bang for the buck out there. If you're just getting into the CNC hobby, consider it. I'm serious about that. So let's see. Les Clemens says Senko has a composite nailer as well. It's the SPEN 15XP 15 gauge composite nailer. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure there are going to be more manufacturers that jump on the composite nail bandwagon because CNC has, for the home hobby or home based business, has really exploded. And a lot of these companies are starting to see that there's a market out there that needs to be, I hesitate to say exploited because that sounds negative, but exploited because it's simple fact. If you build it, they will come. And the more people involved in this, the quicker prices come down for everybody. I mean, look at CNC machines themselves. It wasn't that long ago that a basic machine had a 5-digit price tag. So, you know. Let's see. Would be wants to know, I recently bought a 3x2 meter nesting CNC for my cabinetry kitchens. How do I save several parts in order to nest on my CNC? I use Aspire. Thanks. I may be the wrong person to ask about this because I don't do any nesting. I'm going to get into it, but as it sits right now, I have never done any nesting. I don't know what version of Aspire you're using, but if you are using version 11, look into using sheets for your cabinetry, and you can nest each sheet individually. If you go into the program, get into the help menu, and I think is it the first or the second? It's the third. I was wrong on both counts. Click on help and go down to video tutorial browser, and that'll take you to the video tutorials from Vectric on nesting. And it goes into that nesting specifically for cabinetry, as well as a couple of other things. There's more than one video. But I don't do cabinetry and I've never done nesting, although I am going to get into it because I'm going to have a few projects coming up that I will need to use nesting on. So, okay, let's see. John Thompson says, sorry, late to the show, had a car club show today. Well, I hope you brought a note. Let's see. Scott Millock says, I downloaded some pumpkin faces, and when I bring them up, they have a bike edge symbol. Is there a way to have the pick instead? I don't understand. If you could clarify for me. They have something. I don't know what that means. I really don't know. If you could clarify a little bit more, Scott. Let's see. Let me cruise back up here and see if I missed anything. Probably the number one question. No, not probably. Definitely. The number one question that I got was, why did you glue down the MDF? How are you going to replace a strip? And this is the question that kind of made me look at it a little bit sideways, because a couple of the people who asked me that question, I know they followed my Gatton CNC build, and I did the Spoilboard on it exactly the same way. So I don't know if maybe they missed it back then or what, But the reason I glued the MDF down was just simply for security. I didn't want any fasteners up from the bottom holding it down, and I didn't want any fasteners from the top holding it down, because I want to be able to cut anywhere on that spoil board and not have to worry about hitting a screw or something like that. As far as what am I going to do when it comes time to replace them, and this is specifically talking about surfacing the spoil board. Yes, I'm going to be surfacing it at, irregular intervals, just when it needs it. As it sits right now, there is about a 1/4 inch of MDF above the top level of the TTrack. So the MDF sits up above the TTrack about a 1/4 of an inch. So as I surface it down, obviously I'm going to get closer and closer to the TTrack. Well, when it comes time to surface that last time before I'm in danger of hitting the TTrack, I'm going to go ahead and patch it up with body filler, surface it, and then glue down strips of 1/4 inch MDF over the top of it, surface that, and then drive on. And that's what I did on the Gatton CNC, and that's what I'll continue to do. I shouldn't need to replace any of these. If it should come to pass that I have to, if I need to replace one of them, take it out for some reason, what I'll do is I'll pull up the T-track to either side of it, chuck my 1/2 inch end mill in there, and mill it out. So, I mean, it's just, I've got a CNC router, and I sized this spoil board to be just under the limits of the travel on the gantry. It's just under the limit, so I won't get a soft limit trigger, and I won't hit the limit switches or anything. I'll be able to reach the whole thing with the 1/2 inch end mill and just hog out one strip, put the T-track back down, and replace that piece of MDF. But I have no need to replace one, all things being equal, fingers crossed. If it should happen, it happens. Now Rick says, why only 1/4 inch MDF on the resurface? Why not go 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch? Well, that's going to depend on what's available when I go to get it, when that time comes. If they're out of 1/4 inch, I'll go with 1/2 inch. The main reason for only 1/4 inch is because that's what it has now. So, if I don't see a need to change something, why change it? And to be honest, Rick, I'm cheap. So, excuse me. Let's see here. How are you going to avoid the T-track when drilling dowels for double-sided machining operations? I use a sacrificial spoil board, auxiliary spoil board for 2-sided projects. Basically, I've got a scrap of Baltic birch plywood that I screw down, and then I mount the double-sided project to it, and that's what I drill my registration holes. With. So it's just one of those things. I did that with the T-lids and with the 2-sided shelf corbel project. I just throw up a scrap of plywood. If there are any holes already drilled in it, I circle them so I don't use those by mistake, and just use that for my registration holes for double-sided projects. Let's see here. Scott got back to me here. The file shows the Microsoft Edge symbol. I would like to see the face when I'm looking for what face I want to carve. Okay, the file shows the Microsoft edge symbol on the thumbnail when you're looking in the folder or when you're looking in the when you're trying to bring it up, when you're trying to import it? That's a Windows question. Let's see. What is the, and you've got some people out here trying to help you, Bob Heltebridle. What is the file extension? Because different files, uh, Windows will display thumbnails in different ways. If it's like a JPEG or a BMP bitmap or a PNG file, it should display a thumbnail. If it's something else like an SVG, you may have to get into the folder options and have it display a thumbnail image. Now, Bob Heltebridle helped me out in that sometimes you might need an app to or a not a standalone program. I'm trying to think of, it's kind of like a browser extension, but not a browser extension. It works with Windows. He helped me out. I had that problem with STL files. All it showed was a just a generic thumbnail for a STL file, and he found a standalone app, I guess you would say, that puts up a thumbnail of what the file actually is instead of showing that STL symbol in a folder. You might have to find one for that file type that will display a thumbnail of that file rather than just the generic, this is a PDF or this is a SVG or whatever. Yeah, the default application, you can, these guys are right, Sargon and less. You can associate any file with the right application. Correct. If you have photographs associated with Microsoft Edge, that's why it's showing you that. If you have it associated with the picture viewer that comes with Windows, it'll show you a thumbnail. And here is Sargon saying, by right-clicking the file in Explorer and select Open With, you can also right-click the file and go down to Properties and see what it opens with, and then change that if you want. Not trying to get you to, reconfigure your computer, but that is for sure. RB Woodworks makes a good point. If it's showing Microsoft Edge, it's likely HTML. Something else that you can do is you can open up that face in, I don't know if you're using VCarve, Aspire, whatever. You can open up that particular face in the software and then save it as a CRV file, and you'll have that CRV file to show you what it is. It will display a thumbnail, especially if you're going to be cutting them with that software anyway. You can save it as a template file, or you can just save it as a standard CRV or CRV 3D file. So, I'm cheap, says the guy with the $300 nail gun. I'm cheap when it comes to consumables, I'm cheap. I'm cheap when it comes to consumables. Yeah, sure, I could go buy stainless steel screws, but why? You know, um, zinc works just fine for me. So, but yeah, if you could let us know, Scott. Okay, it's an SVG file. You should be able to. You know what? I I don't think I have any SVG files on this computer. No, I don't. I don't have any SVG files. Let me come back over here. And this is a major, major, major digression. See, if you come in here, and I'm just going to pick my desktop picture, right click it, you can go into properties, and for instance, this here opens with photos. You might be able to get into an SVG file and change that to where it opens with something else. You might be able to associate that SVG with photos. I'm not 100% certain of that, but I don't have any SVGs, or I would check it for you and see. But that's how I would take care of it anyway. I would try it. I mean, the worst that can happen is it doesn't work, in which case you change it back. So, let's see. Jeff at JMJ Love Dance wants to know, what body filler do I use? Whatever's on sale. They're all pretty much the same. Bondo. It's they're all pretty much the same. I don't use the fiberglass reinforced or any of that other stuff. I just go down and whatever's on sale. If it's Bondo brand, I get it. If it's Plastic Coat brand, I get it. You know. So let's see. Okay, here we go. I am not going to butcher your name, and I apologize. SVG Explorer extension module for Windows Explorer will render SVG thumbnails so you can have an overview of your SVG files. There is your answer. I Google that SVG Explorer extension and go from there. Okay. Thank you for the help, Mar1. Thank you. I am going to look into this. SVG Explorer. SVG Explorer. I'm writing myself a note. Extension module. And thank you very much for that. I'll check into it and get back to you. See, this community is excellent, you know? Nobody knows everything. Nobody you'd want to talk to anyway knows everything. And I rely on you guys just as much as you, I hesitate to say rely on me, but because please don't rely on me. Well, I don't know about that, but thank you. You're too kind for me. You're too kind. Okay, let's see. I think I got all the questions that I had. Oh, no. The sanding sealer I am using. I got this plain and simply because there seems to be a county-wide drought on the sanding sealer I normally use, which is Zinsser Seal Coat. Every place I checked was out of it. And I don't know if there was a run on the stuff or if they just don't sell that much or if it's been a supply issue or what's going on. But I couldn't find the Zinsser Seal Coat shellac-based sanding sealer anywhere. So I went ahead and grabbed this because it was on the shelf. It wasn't too expensive. And there you go. I've never used it before. I don't know if I like it or not. I discovered something after I had the second coat put on the Spoilboard that I kind of went about, and that is this is a water-based sanding sealer. And I panicked and came out and mounted the dial indicator in the spindle and ran it over the Spoilboard, and it hasn't caused the MDF to swell. Whew. Crisis averted. It's a consistent surface. So far, so good. But I traditionally don't like water-based finishes. They raise the grain, and they're just not durable, in my experience. I don't like water-based finishes. Give me an oil base, and or a shellac base, either one. So as it sits right now, we're going to see how well this works out. Now, I had a small conversation in the comments on the video about the sanding sealer, and it did roughen up the surface a little bit, but not so much to cause me any issues. I mean, it didn't cause the MDF to swell that I can detect. It is rough, but it's freshly machined MDF. It's going to be rough. I'll probably put some 220 sandpaper on a sanding block and spend about 13 seconds uh, just kind of wiping over the top. But again, it's a spoil board. It's a sealer to keep out water, uh, keep it from that MDF from absorbing the moisture in the air. It's not. I'm not looking for a glossy showroom finish. I'm just looking to seal it, and if that means I let it sit for 30 days to get a full cure, and then find some shellac-based sanding sealer or even a vinyl sanding sealer, then so be it. I mean, my problem with water based finishes is more about durability than anything else. They just are not as durable as an oil-based finished in my experience. So, yeah, Les Clemens says Zinsser is a shellac base, which I prefer. Yes, it's a shellac sanding sealer that is alcohol based, that which doesn't raise the grain. It's just there to carry the solids and then evaporate quickly, and that's what I prefer. Let's see. Supply issue. I couldn't find it in my area of upstate New York a month or so ago. I ordered sanding sealer from Target Coatings in New Jersey. Sorry, basement shop. So it was the water based. Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And I had to get some now and get it put on there because it started raining last night and we're getting into our rainy season. And it's going to rain probably until January. And humidity levels go way, way, way up. And just simply put, around here, wood rots. It rots fast. And my very first CNC router I cut was the shoestring budget CNC. I didn't finish it, and I parked it in October, and then it was so cold that I couldn't work in that shop. It was not insulated, no heat, no nothing. So I didn't use it over the winter at all. So by the time spring rolled around and I went back out to use it, the CNC had started mildewing and was already starting to rot. So it was just, yeah, I've got to get some finish on this because I don't want this spoil board to rot like that. And that's why I urethaned the MDO board too. Bill Stoffer, you rock. Welcome to water based. That's all I've ever used. Oh, ish. Well, thank you very much. I mean, more than you'll ever know. I appreciate it. But That doesn't mean I'm a devotee of water-based finishes. I traditionally don't really like them. But okay, Mike Belcher, did you explain why you glued my spoilboard down? Yes, I did. And how you're going to change it when it gets marred up? I'm not going to change it. I'm going to surface it, glue down strips of 1/4 inch MDF, surface and seal that, and drive on. I should never have to replace one of those strips. If I should have to for some ungodly reason, I'll take up the TTrack to either side of it, chuck in my 1/2 inch end mill and mill it out, surface that flat, put in a new piece and start over. Yeah, this is the third spoil board I've done that way. But I just, you know, I shouldn't need to replace one of those. I say shouldn't, knock on particle board. Only time will tell. Bill, thank you. I will give it a chance. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Now, it does say on the can that it can be used under any polyurethane finish. Apply as a first coat under any Minwax polyurethane. Okay, we shall see. We shall see. Okay. Yeah, if everybody else is having problems finding it, finding the Zinsser shellac, then or sanding seal coat, then I don't feel too bad about it now. Um, I, I was also surprised that I couldn't find any vinyl sanding sealer. So, but like I said, I could order it, but I wouldn't have gotten it before the rain started. So that's why I was kind of in a hurry to get it here and get it put on. So, but yes, it's all sealed. It's all ready to go. Now I'm using my cursor like you can see. Now I've got to align my bottom cross member with the top cross member and get my vertical work holding table installed, designed, cut, and installed, and go from there. But I now have a good horizontal spoil board, so now I can get on with projects. What's going to be the first project? I have no idea. I've got like 6 projects backlogged that I need to hurry up and get going on. Some of those probably won't be on video, but I am going to get going on the Pirate, and we will get that epoxy pour done and get that thing finished. And I think you're going to like the material that I'm going to use for this Pirate. For those of you who it looks very similar to lace wood, look up leopard wood. It was the hardwood supplier that I go through ordered a bunch of lace wood. They got this in as lace wood, discovered it was leopard wood, and had to do a drastic discount on it to get rid of it. And I got some. That's what I'm going to cut it in. Just look up um, look up leopard wood and you'll see what I'm talking about. Well, that answers that question. I have projects, and she who must be obeyed has spoken, and it's her birthday. So that'll be the first project. You won't see that. It's something that's already on my channel. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. You guys are a serious blessing. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for subscribing, for liking, for making comments on the videos. I really, really enjoy it. Uh, Thank you. A special shout out to my channel members. Live stream tomorrow night, members only live stream. Kathy Dial is going to do a presentation on the 3D Open Book project. Be there or be nowhere. That's 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. For information on how to become a channel member, click the join button down below here, right next to the subscribe button. A panel will pop up and a video will play, tell you all about channel memberships, more than you want to know, believe me. Also, I want to thank somebody I don't thank often enough, and that is my friend Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media, the sponsor of Mark Lindsay CNC.com. If you're looking to start or increase your web presence, you want a website, you want to create a web store to sell your items, your products, you want to design merch, t-shirts, baseball caps, coffee cups. He can hook you up with a print on demand company that takes care of everything for you. You have no overhead. They handle it all. Steve is your man. He specializes in websites for makers in the maker community. He's more than open to any and all discussions. He'll do as much or as little as you'd like for him to do. Get a hold of him at harnealmedia.com. There is a link in the description of every video on my channel. And he's a good guy. When you deal with Harneal Media, you deal with Steve. It's personalized service. So, Steve, thank you more than you will ever know. See you channel members tomorrow night. Next week will be an open Q&A, so bring your Vectric comments, questions, concerns. That's it. So for now, yeah, go do something cool. Go make some chips. Go have fun. Me, I'm going to go and get some birthday cake. Have a good rest of the week, y'all. Thank you very much. See you next week, and y'all take care.